Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
It's a great day. I'm Mark Imperial. For the past 7 years, I've scoured the globe looking for noteworthy experts, businesses, people, places, and things. On this special edition of the show, we'll meet some of the world's leading professionals in health, nutrition, and fitness, people from all across the country, around the world, and in your town. On this segment, my next guest is Marty Berger from Door to Door Fitness based out of Colorado. Marty, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Marty, tell us about Door to Door Fitness and the type of clients that you help.
Okay, well, originally I started in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area, Miami area, and I started in 1991. And I just recently moved to Colorado Springs, so I'm just starting up here now. And the type of clientele that I have is basically what I do is I come to the house with all the equipment inside of a truck. So basically, you walk into like a little gym, and my client would sit down initially, and we discuss what their goals and objectives are, get some other information from them, and then I would develop a program based on their needs and their goals. Generally, my type of clientele that I see are people that know they need to go to the gym, but really don't want to go for whatever reason. Possibly they may have had a bad experience when they went initially, or they possibly just don't have the time. So with me, it's convenience is ranks right up there, because I come right out to their driveway, they come outside, and I train them inside the truck. So basically, and I see people of all ages, from teenagers up to senior citizens.
Oh, that sounds really
of my clients
unique. I've never heard of a business. I've never had anyone on the program with that type of a business. That's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Like I said, I've been doing it for 25 years in Florida, so I'm hoping to get it started here in Colorado Springs.
That's interesting. How do your clients find you? Because that's so unique, where you're actually going to them and you also bring the gear. How do your clients find you?
Well, usually it's word of mouth is usually number one. You know, I'll get referrals. My truck itself is like a mobile billboard, because it's an 18-foot box truck, and I've got it all wrapped up. So it's big letters, Door to Door Fitness, mobile gym, and the phone number and the whole bit. So I could be driving down the street or have it parked somewhere, and then people will give me a call based on that as well. So that works out. I do some marketing, and I do. I'm on Facebook, and I do have a website. However, it's kind of under construction right now for the Colorado Springs market.
So this is fascinating. You mentioned that you work with a lot of different age groups. Is there a certain age group that you started with or are most popular with? Tell me about that.
Okay, well, when I started 25 years ago, it's kind of funny. The median age of my clients was probably in their 40s, mid-40s. And as I progressed, a lot of those clients actually stayed with me. So before I left Florida, I would say the majority of my clientele were in their between 55 and 75 age group. I've had people for over 20 years that stayed with me. So it was actually somewhat of a sadness when I left, because, you build rapport with these people. Mm-hmm. You go to their bar mitzvahs and their weddings and their kids' weddings, and see their kids when they were 4 and 5, and then 20 years later they're getting married. So it's a good situation.
That's great. What brought you to Colorado from Florida?
Well, my wife and I always loved Colorado, and we loved the mountains. So one day we just decided, hey, let's do it. So that's what brought us out here. That, and the mountains. We love the mountains. So this is going to be our first winter. But so far, the weather here has been above normal warm. So, but eventually, like you said, the winter will come.
Tell me a little bit about the experience working with you. Do you recommend a certain regimen or a certain number of times per week that you should visit? How does that work?
Okay, well, basically, I would discuss with the client how many times they're able to do it. It goes, with their time and also their finances, because I do charge $70 a session, so people do need to have some, a little discretionary income there. But I try to see people at least twice a week, and then I would recommend, for them to do certain things on their own. But with the majority of people that I see, they'll walk and do things like that, but they won't, they won't go to the gym on their own. So but basically what I do in the truck is I do resistance training. I do have some, also have a treadmill and a bicycle to do some cardio with. And, we do discuss nutrition, and, I give them my best advice, and hopefully they follow it.
Marty, how did you get started? What inspired you to get into fitness and health?
Well, originally I've been training myself for 38 years. I started in 1978. And actually what got me started was I broke up with my first love, and I dropped like 20 pounds. But one of my very good friends says, "Hey, why don't you just come to the gym with me?" So I said, okay. So after day one of going to the gym, it was a love affair, and I never stopped. And since then I've done numerous competitions in bodybuilding and powerlifting and men's fitness and men's physique and things of that nature. So not only is the personal training a job, it's a passion of mine. I love what I do.
So Marty, how can our listeners, if they're in your area and they want to learn more, connect with you and possibly work with you, how do they find you?
Okay, well, they could always give me a call, and my phone number is area code 719-428-5057, or they could email me at, it's all spelled out, Door to Door Fitness, and it's, DOOR, and then BO for 2, and door again, fitness, at hotmail.com.
All right,
I have a website, like I said,
uh-huh.
and but it's under construction, and on Facebook as well.
What will that be when it is completed? Do you have the URL for your website?
I don't know. I'm not big into. I have a person who's working on it now, and so the website is going to be doortodoorfitness.org. O-R-G. So
okay, good.
Be the website.
All right, right on. Well, hey, Marty, you've had great information, and I really like your unique approach at helping people get fit by, making it even easier for busy people, busy professionals too, to go to them. So I appreciate you coming on the program, and I wish you continued success for you and all of your clients.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about my business.
And again, we're in the middle of our special edition for health, nutrition, and fitness. On this segment, my next guest is Brian Boyle from Company5K.com, based out of Utah. Brian, welcome to the program.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about Company 5K and the type of clients that you help.
Absolutely. So Company 5K is a company that is primarily focused on corporate health and wellness. And so we started off with an event. We've got a corporate challenge 5K race. And so the Company 5K kind of stemmed from that, designed literally to get corporations, out moving. One of the big things that we see in corporate health and wellness is that there's a very low participation rate in actual physical fitness in companies. And so, if you look at the HRAs or the risk assessments, everybody wants to participate in that because they get, credit towards their co-pays or their premiums and their insurance. But when it comes down to the actual fitness component of it, where they're saying, hey, we'll provide for a gym membership or we'll do this, a lot of that is just it's just not being utilized by the employees. And so we wanted to do something that would get people out. They would get them out moving. And so we designed this event in downtown Salt Lake. And so yeah, that's our first piece with that. And then from the rest of the year, we provide information to these employers. We go out, we do brown bag lunches and just basic education as to why the physical fitness component is so special and important to the overall health benefits package.
Right on. So tell me, let's go deeper into that about the company 5K. So it's an event that you throw in the Salt Lake area. So does it lead into anything else, onto any ongoing programs or anything?
Right. So there's a 8-week lead up that we put together. So we had a running coach, and this is an ongoing thing. So this was our first year, this last year. So everybody gets a packet. It actually turned out to be about 40 pages of this PDF file that when you signed up for the event that you actually got this training packet. So we had a running coach put together this training program, which was basically from A to Z, whether you were a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level runner, you would find some benefit in it. And so it told you every day, this is what you need to be running. Then we had a nutritionist, dietitian, put together a component on that. Just, what do you need to be eating? What do you need to do to refuel? I'm a physical therapist by trade, so then I put together a physical therapy piece on running injuries and how to prevent them. And then we had a sports psychologist talking about behavior modification. So we have this turnkey, basically 8-week program that leads up to the event. Somebody registers for the race, they get this, and day one they automatically know what to do. They can go in and say, all right, I'm running on these days. This is my easy day. They go over to the next piece and they say, okay, this is the nutrition for an easy day, or some sort of example of that. Now I'm 6 weeks into this and I'm starting to experience some pain. What should I be doing? Then they go to that piece and they can say, hey, I've got this injury prevention piece. And then they go to, how do I continue on with this? Well, we've got the behavior modification piece from the sports psychologist. How do you keep yourself ready? How do you stay healthy and keep the habits going? So, so there's an ongoing component to that. We are expanding that as we speak. We're looking to make this bigger. We're looking to partner with some of the other organizations, like Salt Lake has a runners club. They've got multiple, but the Salt Lake Track Club. What we're looking to do is see if we can combine so that it's like you've got every 8 weeks, you've got another event that you could plug into. You take the same formula, you run the same thing, okay? And you could go from beginner, if you were a beginner, to the intermediate, and the next time go to the advanced program. If you're an advanced runner already, you can kind of expand from there. But yeah, so that's how we kind of keep it ongoing, and then just dialogue with the employers and making sure that that's about the limit that they have is about 8 weeks. With most people want to change something up after that. They're looking for something new. So we just wanted to have a turnkey opportunity for these employers. That way they didn't have to waste their resources on trying to come up with the next event, the next thing, the next, so we figured we could crowdsource this event by having a bunch of employers. And these are really, really popular all throughout the country, just haven't been in Salt Lake.
I see. So it sounds like the company 5K was did you create this as a solution for companies to increase their participation rate? Is that how the evolution of this? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we were looking for something that would be fun, that one company wouldn't want to actually produce this by themselves. To go through in the downtown, in Salt Lake, you've got, permitting and all of these other things that you've got to go through, the logistics. So we figured, if one company wanted to put together an event, it doesn't make sense to tie up all of their resources. And so what we did is we said, hey, if we can go out to all of the larger employers, we joined up with the Chamber of Commerce, and so on and so on. If we can combine all of these elements, okay, and then we can actually take this to a number of different employers. What will end up happening is that we can start them down this process of, hey, okay, this is where you need to start. This is how we start talking about the change, because this is fairly new to Salt Lake. That most employers, when I started this process talking to them, they're going, well, we sort of pay for this, but we haven't really had anything formal, or we're looking for something, but we don't know exactly what, or we've always just had people come to us and say, hey, will you sponsor us for a race? But it hasn't been anything really organized. It was just a local 5K charity run that they said, hey, we can sponsor. But what was always missing was this component of, okay, yes, it's a 5K, all right, but I don't know how to train for it. I can probably go to a website and find a coach, and then I can go to another website and I can find some things on injury prevention. I can go to another website, and so we really wanted to be a resource as kind of a key leader in this realm of where you actually have all the resources in one neat package. The employer doesn't have to necessarily worry about what's going on. If the employee needs something additional, they can get in contact with one of the coaches and say, hey, I've got another question. I see this in this packet of information, and then we were doing things online with social media and kind of getting more information out. So it's really just content creation and trying to get people to participate in an event. And so, it really is designed to get the employee excited. It's a bigger scale event than that they may have been participating in, and it's more focused in on the health and wellness, not just an event. Like, hey, I'm going to show up on this Saturday for this 5K. I haven't done anything before, and I'm not doing anything after.
Yeah, I'd imagine then you're hoping that people, once they experience it, have a good experience, that they catch on, that they catch fire and say, hey, you know what, I want to keep this consistent, because obviously consistency is the key to success in any, being healthy and fit in general. So
absolutely.
Just switching gears a little bit, Brian, you mentioned before the call, and it's piqued my interest a lot. You recently moved. You went from one part of the country to Utah, and you mentioned, hey, Mark, I could talk about what makes businesses successful and what causes them to fail, and specifically in fitness. Let's jump into that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the evolution of where you were, what brought you here, and did you have a business failure in your life, or what caused that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2004, we opened up a business partner and I, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of background, and then I'll kind of explain into what I've seen why businesses fail. And there's a lot of information out there, but something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. But in generalization, so I can give you an example. So in 2004, I opened up a physical therapy company with a business partner, and he and I didn't know each other really, really all that well, other than we were both physical therapists. And the guy we were working for at the time was going out of business. And so we decided, hey, we're going to open up shop if there was ever a time. So we did, and we quickly realized that there were a bunch of different things that we didn't know. Like in any business, there's probably more things that you don't know. By the time you get into it and you realize you're in the thick of things, you say, gosh, we've already invested quite a bit of money. So, we started off with about $35,000 in seed money, and that lasted us from the end of July until February, when we first started getting our big checks from the insurance company. So we were basically third-party payers paying for that. And we realized, well, that system is not going to work all that well. So we need to find cash-paying clients. And so we started getting into our third year, and about the time that you're becoming profitable, that's the time that the banks actually want to talk to you. And before that, you can go to every bank in town with a business plan and say, this is great, and they say, well, we need to see 2 to 3 years of financials. So the time we didn't necessarily need them, they said, yeah, absolutely, and we'd love to give you guys as much cash as you'd like, lines of credit, all these things. And so unfortunately, what we ended up doing is we took out a large line of credit. We expanded into 4 different offices from one. We added a sports performance component to it. And what we didn't realize was, that when you get that much cash, you still owe it to somebody. Okay. So, it's not this windfall of just cash. The other thing is that now you have this additional stress of, that's great that now you have this additional money, but now you have this additional stress of like, okay, now how am I going to pay this back? Okay. Especially if you expand very quickly. And so the thing is that you've got to have all your systems in place. And I think that's the biggest key is, not expanding quickly, making sure you have the right partnership, that you guys are both or gals are both on the same page, or how many partners you have. I've heard horror stories where people have 5, 6, and 7 partners, and trying to get everybody to agree, can be an absolute nightmare. So, not against partnerships by any means, but you got to make sure that you vet your partners, almost like a marriage that you're saying, hey, what, are we going to be in this for the long haul? Do we have the same values? And do we have the same vision for where this company is going to go? And if we don't, do we have an exit strategy? And that's the thing that people always talk about. Have the exit strategy, look at the end in mind. So in 2008, we expanded. We do all this stuff right around the time when the recession hits. Our particular area in North Carolina got hit pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
The reported numbers were about 22% unemployment. Reported were much higher than that. And so that, our model of cash paying clients didn't really take off
Mm-hmm.
all that well. And it was just kind of a sea of all of this turmoil, people saying, well, gosh, it's $100 a month to work out with you. And I don't know that I have $100 a month for this versus, actually putting food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by 2012, we were basically running out of options. And, we say, could we put on more debt? Could we put on more debt? And just kind of, we decided against it. So we closed up shop. And when you're closing up shop, I think it's actually harder to shut down a business than it is sometimes to actually start the business. And one of those things that you've got to make sure that you do. So I can go into more detail if you'd like, but I figure that's kind of where I'll stop and see if you have questions on any of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you have great information, and I know this is probably for yet another interview to dig deeper into that. But tell me about like your move. So you shut down that particular business. Were you doing company runs then, or was it totally different? And what brought you into, Company 5K in Utah now? And has it been a complete change of business model working with companies? And has that been like the refreshing, solution that's working for you?
Yeah. So great question. So we weren't doing any events in North Carolina. It kind of came to be when I moved out here and was looking around at the landscape. There are a lot of races in Utah. If you look on any given Saturday, Utah is very, very outdoorsy. And so on any given Saturday, there's probably about 14 different races. What you don't see is any midweek races, and I know that's very unusual. Most of the bigger cities and such have midweek races. I grew up as a runner. I could hop on a Thursday evening race after work or after whatever. I could hop in a Tuesday evening race in the summertime. There were a lot of midweek races. There's no midweek races in Utah. So our selling point on this is it's a Thursday evening for our 5K event. It's after work. It's in downtown Salt Lake, so it's not only the state capital, but it's also the county seat for city or the county of Salt Lake. And it's where the central population is. We're geographically landlocked. And so when we thought about this, we said, all right, there's nothing on a midweek. So what reduces barriers to participation? If somebody's going to go home and they've got to come back, you say, well, gosh, that's certainly going to be a barrier. If on a Saturday morning they've got to wake up early, if they're not necessarily a runner to begin with, okay, again, they may want to just sleep in. So we said, all right, they're already awake, they're already at work. We get them right afterwards. So at 5:00, we start our pre-party, kind of thing, and then we have our race, and then they're kind of there, and they have a little post-party afterwards, and it's just kind of this fun event. So we wanted to reduce barriers. So when I was looking at the landscape of the running and how we could kind of combine working with employers and health and wellness, not just the physical therapy post-injury side of things, but preventing things as well. The musculoskeletal, so the muscles, the tendons, the bones, those sorts of injuries are what actually drive cost to employers. But the chronic things will just kind of sneak up. And those are the things that just kind of keep gnawing at the employee, and the employer, and just keep driving costs for the long term. The musculoskeletal stuff is very short term, but it's high cost. The chronic stuff is what's going to keep the person just literally, they're overweight, they've got cardiovascular disease, they've got diabetes, they're not showing up for work because of these things. And it may not be that they tell the employer that, but you can tell the productivity is down. So we said, hey, if we can change that and give the employees a resource, that way they have this, they don't have to try and figure it out on their own. We think we're onto something. And that, we kind of did some market studies and started talking to some of the bigger companies that do races out here. And they're like, yeah, gosh, I'm surprised nobody's ever done this, but working with the city is really tough. I spent 6 months dealing with the city and just, trying to get, everything under control and trying to figure out to navigate the whole permitting process and such. And it's really, really very difficult. And that's kind of the reason why I think a lot of people don't do races in Salt Lake, and yet they really should. And so it's just once you navigate that system, you can figure it out. But that's kind of how, so it is completely different from what we were doing in North Carolina, gotten away from actually having a physical clinic, doing more stuff on site, doing, the services kind of in a virtual hub, not necessarily having hey, we've got a brick and mortar building that you're going to come to. We're going to come to you. We don't have to worry about all of the associated costs with that brick and mortar. And so it's kind of this, I can be as free and movable, and flexible and go down to this employer, go talk here. I can go talk and have this discussion. We've got a huge tech hub here in Salt Lake. They're calling it the Silicon Slopes now. So I don't know if you've heard of that. But a lot of the companies that were in the Silicon Valley are coming to Utah because the taxes are that much lower. The cost of living is that much cheaper. And you're an hour away by plane from Salt Lake Airport to get back to San Jose or Sacramento or anywhere in that Silicon Valley region there that you'd want to fly to. So we have a lot of tech companies that are kind of really just driving this. Hey, you know what? We've got virtual everything. Everything's being done online, and so all of our employees are at home. Hey, let's gather them together and bring them together for an event.
Hey, Brian, you got a wealth of information here. I know we're going to have you on the show again in the future to dig into some of this stuff. How can our listeners, if they're near you by Salt Lake and Utah, how could they learn more about you and connect? Where do they find you?
So they can go to company5, the number 5k.com. That is the main website for the 5K run, and we're also doing a thing called the Wasatch Mile. And then another website that we're just building out is called Run Painless, PAINLESS.com. And it's literally tailored to just really putting more content out. So that's just getting out probably in the last 2 weeks. So we're working on that website. You can actually go there right now, but it's literally just a work in progress. So we will continue to update that website and push more content out.
Hey, this has been terrific, Brian. I really appreciate it. And hey, I wish you continued success for your races and for all of your clients. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
I'm Mark Imperial, and we're in the middle of another special edition on fitness, nutrition, and health. On this segment, my next guest is David Berger from Progressive Fitness Coaching out of Pennsylvania. David, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to be here.
Hey, David, tell us a little bit about Progressive Fitness Coaching and the types of clients that you help.
So Progressive Fitness Coaching, we help build better people. We provide in-home fitness coaching in the northern Delaware, southern Chester County area of Pennsylvania. And our average client is 50 years old, mostly female. They have a disposable income that affords them the opportunity to have someone come to their house and help them achieve their fitness goals. And a lot of times it's an apparently healthy population, but we do get a lot of post-rehab now as well.
Oh, right on. Yeah, tell me about that. So when folks come to see you, is there a common challenge that you find your clients face for, the biggest reasons they come to see you?
Well, it's funny. Most people are always looking for weight loss, and getting fit, so they can fit into their clothes and things like that. But usually there's a lot of other underlying issues that we quickly discover and start working more towards better health goals and achieving, some greater movement things than just losing numbers on a scale.
Now, do you find that people seek out trainers, or do you find that you meet a lot of folks that have tried it on their own and just are not successful with it? Tell me about that.
Well, there's definitely an incredible accountability measure to it. The reason that my business is successful is because a lot of us need somebody there to keep us on task to do what we should be doing, and that's where our program really helps out the most, is that accountability measure. We have specific times that we're going to be there. We keep those appointments, and that whole time is focused specifically on the individual and helping them achieve what they want.
You know how there's a lot of information, just a ton of information out there, and it can be confusing for folks. What do you think is like the biggest misconception or confusion around fitness and losing weight that you'd like to let people be aware of?
Well, I think a lot of times, especially today, because there's just so much information with fitness and nutrition. And people get caught up in what's the latest fad trend going on. And what we always need to remember is that movement is medicine. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. And a lot of our population that we work with are people that have unfortunately ignored that simple principle and working really, really hard to get back to just some basic movement patterns and functional fitness. And so I think the take-up message is you always have movement is medicine, no matter what it is, no matter how much time you invest it consistently and move as much as you can, and you'll pretty much be okay for the rest of your life, as far as I can tell.
For some of the folks that are starting with you, and as you mentioned, they've kind of let their fitness go to the wayside, is there any intimidation? Are they scared of getting started? How do they feel about that, and how do you help them get on the path to success?
You know, fear is always the greatest obstacle to anything we want to achieve, and fitness is no different than anything else. A lot of times, it's funny because a lot of our marketing is through different auctions and charities and things like that, and people will, pay money at a silent auction for one of our packages, and it takes them, they'll wait until that very last day before it expires, before they finally succumb to calling. And, and then once they get started, they're like, God, why did I wait so long to do this? Mm-hmm. And, that's just the biggest thing is life starts taking over, and you get busy and things get in the way, and they will always be like that unless you start to prioritize your health. And again, just going back to keeping that movement as medicine at the forefront, and making sure that you have time each day to do some sort of physical activity is paramount.
That's really smart. That's really smart, David. You mentioned, people win your packages or bid on your packages through auctions. Because I know that fitness is a tough business in general, and it's so important for people. However, a lot of people just get in their own way and don't get physically fit. So have you found that to be like one of the best ways clients find you? Or what is the state of fitness business today?
I think for what we do, that seems to work really well because, there's a lot of gyms and a lot of different membership things that you could do. And often, more times than not, people will join that gym or something and, they have great intentions in the beginning, and then that quickly falls short, just like the treadmill that's collecting clothing in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't get used, and then it's just a waste of money. Whereas the service that we provide, you're paying a little more of a premium, but again, you have an incredible accountability measure, so that you know that you will get that specific time focused directly with what you want to achieve and getting that movement in there. Of course, I'll tell every person I meet with for that first time that no matter how often we meet and for that 45, 60-minute duration, the work that you do outside of that is where you're going to make your greatest progress. And that's, always the take home is that you've got to make this a very consistent part of your life. But as far as the fitness industry goes, the fitness industry is huge. Just based off of the number of attendees at the conferences that I go to, how much they've grown over the years, it's pretty incredible. But it always comes back to the same mindsets, and that's that people procrastinate and they avoid exercise. And it seems to be that, some of the younger generations are catching on to that, so that's really good to see. But it's always a challenge. The auction's really well for us.
It's great to see, the trend these days that I'm seeing a lot more fitter people than I have in past decades, that's for sure. So
yeah, and a lot more injuries.
Ah, okay, yeah, I see. So what do you think is causing all the injuries? Are people not knowing how to exercise properly?
I think, a lot of the things I see today, and I'm not going to single out any specific fitness programs, but there's some very, very intense fitness programs out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all the sparks and bells and whistles, and for a 40-plus-year-old individual who hasn't been very fit and to suddenly plunge themselves into one of these intense programs quickly leads to some serious injuries. And it's learning to crawl before you walk and walk before you run.
So, David, take us back. What inspired you to get into fitness and health? How did you get started?
Exercise and I have been friends for a while. I was over 250 pounds, smoked a pack of cigarettes a day when I dropped out of high school. And a friend of mine committed suicide, and I was so embarrassed with myself that I didn't even go to his funeral because I couldn't fit into a pair of pants, and that was kind of like the last straw. And so I started going up and down my grandparents' flight of stairs. One flight of stairs a day, and then added one on each week until by the end of a year, I was doing stair repeats for over an hour, and it drastically changed my nutrition and lost almost 90 pounds, and it changed my life.
Wow, that's
as good as I felt then, I wanted to help more people feel that great. And so that's what I do. That's my mission.
Yeah, you're a product of your own journey. So I'm glad to see that you're sharing that with other people. So David, is there?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people. It's really tough. It's never easy, no matter what age you are,
mm-hmm.
and you just have to. It is that 6 inches between the ears is the toughest hurdle, and once you learn how to start hopping over that a little bit at a time. That part does get more achievable, but it's always work. There's never an end product. I'm never completely like, wow, I've reached it. This is it. It's always a work in progress.
It really is a lifestyle.
Absolutely, without a doubt. It's got to be.
Right on. So David, for our listeners that might be near you in your area, how do folks find you if they want to learn more and get more information and connect with you?
Well, the easiest way today is the website, so pro-fitcoach.com, and that'll get you to us. It's got all the contact information up there, and of course you can always call us 302-521-1794.
Hey, this has been terrific, David. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the program today, and I wish you continued success for everything you're doing and for all your clients.
I appreciate it, Mark. It's great talking to you.
That wraps up another episode of our Health, Nutrition, and Fitness Special Edition. If you know a remarkable expert, business, person, place, or thing that we should feature on the show, drop me a line on my email, radioguest@markimperial.com. That's radioguest@markimperial.com. Until next time, I'm Mark Imperial. Take care and make it a remarkable week.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.